Welcome, welcome, welcome again, my friends, to yet another version of the Chef Trek Adventure series. This is our cooking at home edition, and our menued item today will be a pork and pumpkin stew. This recipe comes from our sponsor, one of our sponsors, Healthcraft. It's one of their signature dishes, and we're just going to add a slight twist to their recipe by adding a few additional ingredients. Here we have our chopped diced pumpkin. We've added to the recipe red pepper, green pepper, celery, and carrots. We've added that. The other ingredients going in here is crushed tomatoes and cumin, red pepper flakes, dried parsley, dried oregano. We'll chop some garlic, and we're going to add just a little bit of salt and pepper, but very little. We're going to start this off with, now the recipe calls for a pork loin, and one of the things I love about what I try to show you is when you have things available, use it. I happen to have in the freezer a half of roasted pork loin already done. So we're going to use that as opposed to the raw, and guess what happens? It's going to cut down on our cooking time. But it's about being comfortable with yourself and the things you do in the kitchen. Because let's remember, we're dealing with our 4 F's. Faith, family, friends, and food. That's who we are. Oh, and by the way, my name is Chef Delmer Gill, and this is a Chef Trek Adventure. Let's get our pans heated, and we're going to use our large saute pan from Healthcraft. Very fine inductionware, cookware. There's information at the end of our show concerning Healthcraft. Okay, we're going to start with some olive oil. And that's about 1/4 cup. Now, since our pork is already done, we're going to start by doing our vegetables first. And we're going to make sure, yes, we're coming along nicely. We're going to do our pumpkin and not make such a big mess as oil goes a-splashing. We're going to do our red pepper. We're going to do our green pepper, onion, celery, and end things up with carrots. And we'll just push this out of the way. Delmer, you're knocking stuff down already. The other ingredient that I failed to mention is we're going to add a bit of sugar to that. And a bit of white wine. Now, chick stock. And we're going to add about maybe 2 cups of chicken stock. We're using a low sodium chicken stock. And I did mention earlier that we will be later on adding just a pinch of salt and pepper. But yes, about 2 cups of chicken stock is what we're going to do, and I'm getting the rest of it. We'll add a little bit more later, and we'll cover this. Now, we're using fresh pumpkin, folks. As with many fruits and vegetables that have hard skin, I reserved a little piece so I can show you how it was done. Please be extremely careful with this, because what we're doing is we're taking away that hard skin. You don't want to see any of it left. You don't want to see any green. And this is what you have to do. Pumpkin skin is a very hard skin. So like I said, please emphasize safety at all times with knives. This is a small French knife. This is a ceramic knife. My other knife that I'll be using later is my Chinese vegetable cleaver. But like I said, we're taking off this skin. And I left this piece just to show you how it was done and how careful. I can't overemphasize carefulness. And we're going to just discard this rough skin biz. And we'll use the Chinese cleaver for this now. And we're just going to cut it into what I call a medium to possibly a large dice. And we're going to just add that to the other stuff. Now, we're going to do a bit of garlic. And this recipe calls basically for about 3 cloves of garlic. And I'm going to use and smash. I'm going to smash, and then I'm going to mince. And once again, safety, 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 my friends. Safety, safety, safety. Always important. Now, accompanying this is a nice jasmine rice, which that rice has just been steamed. It's already been done, and it's just got a little salt, a little pepper, a little chicken stock, and some parsley. And we're using dried parsley. Oh, speaking of herbs, one other herb that's going into this is cilantro, and we're using cilantro fresh. So that's fresh cilantro, a bit of dried parsley, and a bit of cumin. So those are the herbal ingredients. Now, let's talk about our pork. Recipe calls for about 1.5 pounds of pork. But like I said, I had a nice pork loin. Now this pork loin was done with salt, pepper, cracked black pepper, brushed with a bit of oil, salt, pepper, and garlic. And seared off. We talk about searing often. In searing, you take a meat such as a pork or a chicken or a beef, and you sear the sides of it on a very high heat that seals in the juices. Then it's finished off in the oven. And this pork was finished off in the 350 oven for give or take about 1/2 hour to 45 minutes, give or take. Now we're going to cut these pork portions up into about the same size as we call the dice, the medium dice. And that's give or take about 1/2 inch portions. Like I said, give or take. And to always remind you, my friends, feel free to try something different methods, even different foods. And we like to emphasize trying to eat a little better, all of us. I do not knock certain foods. I'm just saying folks need to learn to eat things within moderation. So, as we are doing this, we're going to just place our pork back on here. We're going to add our herbs. A lot of times I like to use this because I can scoop things up easily. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. And we are going to add to our mix our herbs that we're doing. Let's just put that there for the time being. We already did our garlic. We're going to take like a wee bit of salt. I mean, this is like what I call a pinch of salt. It's not even an 1/8 of a tablespoon. Teaspoon, that is. We're going to do about the same amount of pepper. About 1/8 of a teaspoon. Not a lot. And the thing about salt and pepper, the terminology we like to use is season to taste. That means season to your particular taste. A recipe might call for 3 tablespoons of salt. But you learn to play around with these things and say, well, I don't want all that salt in my diet. Speaking of pepper, cracked pepper, red pepper flakes. And that's just about 1/2 of a teaspoon. On our oregano, about 1/2 of a teaspoon. On our parsley, about the same. Now cumin, which is here in the front, I'm going to use a little less. Cumin is one of the herbs that you have to acquire a taste for. If you overdo it, you're going to say, oh, this is a little bit too much. We're going to do about 1/8 of a teaspoon, or with my big fingers, a large pinch. And our last little bit of fun is just regular sugar, and we're going to add about a teaspoon. Okay, now as I reach behind me, and lo and behold, here's a spoon all ready for me. And this is coming together, it's simmering so nice. Keep in mind, we still have a little bit of chicken stock to add if necessary, and we will probably do that. And as we get this just about done, we'll taste it and see if we need to adjust the salt and pepper or even the cumin or any of the herbs. We'll see if we need to adjust it. Okay, but as I said, things are coming along very nicely. And guess what? We're about to add our pork. Keep in mind, we are using this already cooked pork. And by the time this gets done, this is all going to be so tender. Of course, when you're using the raw, you get additional flavor that gets cooked into your meal because the pork is raw. But what I like to emphasize is so often is to use the items that you have here at home. Like I said, the recipe calls for a pork loin raw, but I happen to go through the freezer and find one in the freezer, so we're using it. We're just going to stir this a wee bit. And we're going to give it a cover. Delmer, there's still one more ingredient. We're going to let that simmer just a bit. And that other ingredient is the crushed tomatoes. And this is a can of crushed tomatoes. We're at the moment going to add half of this. And when it cooks down, we will add the other half. Oh, what the heck. We're going to add all of it right now because we're still going to have to probably add just a wee bit more of chicken stock. And we'll place this out of the way and we'll give a nice little gentle stir. A nice little gentle stir. The pumpkin with the tomato, the carrot, the red of the pepper, the green of the pepper. Oh, this just looks so wonderful. And as with a lot of things that we do, we want things to be easy to do. Easy to do, and oftentimes using items that you already have or things that you may regularly buy. But like I said, this is one of the signature dishes from Healthcraft Company, and I just did just a few minor additions to that. All right, we're going to cover this up. We're going to reduce our flame so things can simmer. And yes, simmer they will. All right, once again, Chef Trek Adventure Series. We are cooking at home, the Cooking at Home edition. And the home we are in is the home I grew up in. And it's such a blessing. And I will always testify to this. It's a blessing for me to be able to present to you foods from the kitchen where I learned how to cook. And that was thanks to my dear mother, Gill, and my marvelous grandmother who's gone home to be with the Lord many years ago, Laura Jane Brown. And then as time progressed, my dad, when he retired from work, he just took over the things of cooking for the family on a regular basis. And he too has gone on to be with the Lord. But our pork stew is started off, and we'll recap. Crushed red pepper, a bit of cumin, a bit of parsley, a bit of oregano, and we'll move this out the way. Garlic, a little bit of black pepper, some salt. We started things off with an olive oil, and we added a dash of sugar. As I stated, this will accompany a jasmine rice, which is done, and we will also have mixed greens or mixed greens with apple, pear, cucumber, and cherry tomatoes. Okay, we're going to take a little break, and we'll be right back. Thank you, my friends. See you a bit. Okay, and we're back, and let's uncover our wonderful pork and pumpkin stew. And we have a few more items we're going to add to this. One of those items will be about a half a cup of white wine. And we have a nice white wine here. And I've learned to estimate. And that's approximately my half a cup. And oh, this wine is just working so nicely as soon as it hit this. Okay. And we're going to thicken this up just a bit, with a little bit of cornstarch. A little bit of cornstarch and a wee bit of water. And this is just going to thicken our stew just a bit. And that item, the cornstarch, is something that I've added. And actually, folks, we are done on this. As I mentioned, our jasmine rice has already been done. We're going to cover this one more time and just let it continue to simmer, and we'll talk about the fun items we're going to make with our salad. Oh, this is wonderful, folks. Now, we have a nice little display of vegetables. We're doing the mixed green salad, and what's going to be in that salad is apple and pear, cucumber, bit of carrot, bit of red and green pepper, a little bit of celery. We can add a little bit of these broccoli also, even though our broccoli is for another show in a vegetable. And some very nice grape tomatoes. What's going to go with this, we have our nice herb here, and it's going to be an herb vinegar and lemon vinaigrette. And this is cilantro. All right, we're going to just clear this out the way for a minute. And it's all going here on our nice mixed greens. These are baby lettuces, spinach, and some nice mixed greens. All right, we're going to start with, hey, let's do this now. Since we have it, we're going to do this now. And we're just going to take our cherry tomatoes, have been picked and washed already, with the exception of that. And we're just going to do a nice mound in the middle. And what I like to emphasize often is contrast. We're going to set this over here. We are going to take our cucumber. Cucumber has already been washed. And we're going to just take a kitchen fork and we're going to score this. We're going to score this. We're going to score this. Nothing fancy. But see, here's what happens once you score this. And we're going to cut this on a bias. This is a bias. This is what we call a bias cut, as opposed to a straight cut. And it doesn't really matter. But you have a bias, you have a straight cut. You can do either way. I just get a little fancy sometimes, and you can do either one. But we're going to do bias cut on this cucumber. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our platter back, and we're just going to put these bias cuts of cucumber around the edge of our salad. And we're going to even use that little round one. And it just gives a nice contrast. We're going to have a nice contrast with this. And so far, our salad's looking very nice. Okay. Now, I did mention that we have pear, Oftentimes I like to include fruits in my salad. We have apple. And using, if I had a spoon, I'd use it, but using the back of my fork here, we're just going to take out this little cavity of seed and do the same on the other. I talked earlier, and please, friends, I'm used to cutting my hand, been doing it for over 30 years, but I like to emphasize safety. Safety, safety, safety. So if you were to try this, I would suggest you be very, very careful. We're going to sit this out the way just for a minute, and we're going to get rid of the ends of our little pear here, and we're just going to do some nice slices. And we'll push this off to the side. We'll do our other pear. And we'll push that out the way. And we're going to do the same thing with our apple. We'll take a little knife and we'll just cut this end off out the way. Same thing here. Being safety conscious all the time. I will never get tired of telling you to be careful in the kitchen, especially using knives or working around heat and flame. I don't want to get hurt, nor do I want you to get hurt or injured. And we're going to do the same thing, but no, we're going to cut our apple in half as we get this stuff out of the way, and we'll do the same thing. And once again, we're getting contrasting colors. And it's been mentioned, since we are in the midst of fall, we have a lot of fall colors here. And we'll do the same thing. Now I want to show something very important with cutting, and we're going to show a different way of doing this. We've cut the ends off. We're cutting it in half, and guess what? We can do this and do the same thing. We're eliminating this little pocket of seeds. But what I want to show is, when cutting, you see how I have my hands here? My hands are gripped. Let's do something real quick. We're going to reduce and turn off our pork stew. My hands are firmly holding this apple, and we're doing a slice. And as I do a slice, my hands fall back. My hands move back. My hands move back. So this way, you have control of your knife. And the same thing. Fingers move back. Do a cut. Fingers move back. Do a cut. Fingers move back. Move back. Move back. Move back. Move back. Okay. Our cilantro, which is going in our dressing. And we're going to do just like a little mix. And since I am on a cutting board here and a butcher block table, I'm holding this down, so the cutting action is not shaking us to our very core. Okay. Now, ooh, there are those who fly from the highest height on the wings they carry, searching for the high they can never find, thinking love is blind, never mind. Oh, they never see the forest for the trees till they turn to love, love. Okay, and we're just randomly tossing our little fruit fun here. And we did mention that we are going to do a little bit of broccoli. A little bit of carrot for more color. And we're coming. Where'd that come from? No one told me I left that there. And once again, we're just taking a little carrot and we're doing a quick quick slice, that is, once again on the bias. And that's just for color's sake. Now, we're coming down towards the end of our show. We have cilantro. We'll show the ingredients for our dressing. We have oil. We have cilantro. We have a bit more of our white wine. And we have our vinegar and basically salt and pepper. What happens is we're going to combine these items with the cilantro, maybe a little garlic in the bowl, mix it up, and that's our dressing. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a look at what our things are. Be back in a minute. Thank you. Okay, folks, down to the end of our Chef Trek adventure, cooking at home, and it's pork and pumpkin stew. Okay, here's our display of our pork and pumpkin stew. We have jasmine rice, recapping pork tenderloin, carrots, crushed tomatoes, bit of celery, red and green peppers, onion, and our spices of red pepper flakes, cumin, salt, pepper, bit of sugar, white wine. We sauteed in the olive oil and garlic. Okay, here's our festive fall salad. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a bit of our mixed greens, a little bit of all of our other business here. And we have gotten our cilantro, lemon, garlic, vinaigrette. And we're just going to sprinkle a wee bit over here. And to top things off from our baker, that's Rockland Bakery of the Northeast, located in Pennsauken. Actually, Rockland is New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. They're our new sponsor. That's rocklandbakery.com. And we have one of my favorites. It's a hearty country white bread and a bit of butter. Folks, always, 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 it is such a blessing to come into your homes, and we'll be doing more from our soups and stews. Not just because it's fall, we need to start eating more soups and stews. So, till next we meet, my friends, Chef Delmer Gill here. You've been on a Chef Trek adventure. Bless you, my friends. Be healthy. Eat hearty. See ya.
Boom, a boom, boom. He's Chef Trek on the fast track. He's Chef Trek on the fast track. He's shaking and baking and mixing and fixing. Trish's meal, Trish's meal. He's Chef Trek on the fast track. He's Chef Trek on the fast track. His food.